Hello and welcome to Meanwhile back on the hobby farm. Hey, look who's. I'm going to make sure this camera's all set here. You see my hand? Oh yeah. I want to make sure you can see my ugly mugshot in case you're going to turn me in, you know. Hey, I've been working like a dog. I've been really busy and I've been slacking on YouTube lately. But today is processing herb day, my dry herbs, and then I got to go out in the garden and pick a whole bunch of fresh ones. Never-ending task, but it has to be done because if I get a cutting in today, I should be able to get at least one more cutting in before the frost comes. So this is the dried up echinacea that I dried up. This stuff was my first batch, actually. You notice I'm cutting the stems and everything. I'm going to, when I say process it, I'm going to make some tea out of this, some infusions and what have you. So what I think I'm going to do is, to save myself time later on, I'm going to find a small jar and maybe just put the stems in it, because if I do use some of this for teas, I'm going to have to get those stems out of there. So actually I shouldn't have to if I cut it small enough. Never mind, scratch that idea. But cutting the stems and everything else, and put it in with the teas and everything else. So this is a long, tedious process to cut these stems up, the leaves, but you got to do what you got to do. Things have been going great. I've been really busy. I'm missing the jar on those. I'm going to cut it on the screen and put it in there. I've been extremely busy with work. Been neglecting my my garden. I'll give you a little tour of it afterwards. I've just been real busy, but I have a day off from my nighttime gig, and I hear my dogs barking. I'm expecting some company, so I might have to pause it if my company arrives. They haven't been back here to the Pallet pub, so I want to make sure they don't get lost on our big 1.7 acres of land. Can easily get lost or attacked by our attack rooster. Right here, as you can see, this is the seeds. I'm cutting the seeds up, and I'm going to do the seeds over the jar because the seeds are really small and I don't want to risk losing them in the screen. But a lot of this will be for teas. I will make a couple of, well, infusions will actually be the fresh stuff. So I'm going to cut these flower heads one at a time in here. But life is good. A lot been going on elsewhere other than the hobby farm. This morning I had a Facebook friend message me and said, hey, I've got a big old apple tree in the middle of my field right next to where we have our second paddock for our horses, and said, hey, take what you want. So I went there this morning. It took me 5 minutes. I grabbed a 5-gallon bucket of apples. They're not big apples and they're not pretty apples, but you know what? Don't tell the horses. They don't know the difference. Or as I say in Boston, don't tell the horses, okay? They don't know the difference. I went back and gave them some, and they loved them. They're small apples, but you know what? And they got blemishes, but the horses love them. So in appreciation of my Facebook friend, who also has horses behind us, and is threatening to kidnap one of them because she loves the horse, I told her I will go back tomorrow morning, and I will get about 6 5-gallon buckets of apples, and I will leave her 3 buckets, and I will take the rest and put them in my basement for cold storage, and then this way my horses can have apples hopefully until maybe December or January. Depends how good they stay. They're not overly ripe. They're really kind of small and firm, so they should last quite a long time. And if that's the case, that would be a good thing for them, and I'll probably store some for her in my basement. I like the word free. When someone says you got free, you take it. Hey, I'm going to cut this off and pause this for a second, see if my company hasn't arrived. And make sure I hit the right button here, and that would be... Well, I came back, folks. My company's not here, but I'll show you what I did. I came out and trimmed some of the grapevines, and as you can see, they're right here. Because when I went to go check on my company to see if they were here, I was greeted by 5 goats that made all kinds of funny noises like, ah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them some grapevines because they love grapevines. Hey guys, I gave them a bale of hay yesterday. They ate it one day. Little buggers. We'll take this other pile and we'll throw this pile over here. They love grapevines. Good for them. I'm going to freeze some after I harvest the grapes this year. I'm going to freeze these leaves up in gallon bags and give them a bag a week as a treat during the winter time. Hey guys, you like that stuff? They love it. Look at that, huh? This is second best to poison ivy. Poison ivy is their favorite. Okay, we're going to pause this and go back into the pub. Let me make sure I hit this right. Okay, I'm going to give you a tour of the garden. I'm embarrassed. I've been out here like once in the last week. Pumpkins are going crazy. The lawn's going crazy over there. The peppermint's going crazy. Look at all of those red tomatoes. I'm going to go put some out on the stand, I guess. A lot of red tomatoes. Look at that. Oh yeah, time to get those out in the garden. Blueberries are starting to dry up right now. Herbs are doing good. I'm going to be harvesting all those today. Look at that feverfew. Strawberries, fennel over there is doing great. Everything is going good. I've really got to thin this out. Look at the basil. I'll be harvesting some of that today. Check this out. Look, the mulleins growing good. Cherry tomatoes from last year. Didn't grow any this year, but I'll tell you, they're usually very bitter. And we will see. You know, not too bad considering the regrowths from last year. Usually they're a little bitter. Don't get me wrong, they're not sweet. But they are, they're edible. Look at those grapes, huh? They are looking great. We're going to come back into the mess. The Pallet pub is a total mess. And we're going to put this back over here. And I'm going to talk your ears off some more. Okay, now. I am using an old phone that I have. It's an old Galaxy phone. And the reason why I'm using that is because I can pause it for indefinitely. I mean, I could pause a tape, a video for a day if I wanted to. On my, I just got a whole bunch of seeds all over the place here. On my Pixel 3, not so much. I end up actually, you can only put it on pause so much, and then it shuts the recording off, and I don't like that. So we're going to see how the quality of this comes out versus my phone, and because the Pixel 3 is rated as one of the, a lot of people are using, I didn't know that, a lot of people are using their cell phone, especially the Pixel 3 and 4, to do their videos on because they find it better quality and better features than actually using a GoPro. So we'll see how this works out. Here's some of the seeds. Look at those seed heads right there. Look at that. That's all medicinal medicinal stuff right there for you. So it looks like I'm going to cut them right here on this paper so they don't fly all over the place. And real excited because only about 3 or 4 of these plants actually came from in front of our property. The rest were, people said I could come and trim their echinacea, so I did. And again, good for upper respiratory problems, good for that new CV that's been coming around for the last year and a half. So we'll find out this winter, because when cold season comes and we're all locked in, we will see how the effects are. Everything else is going good. Like I said, I've been real busy with work. The political world is, I promise not to bring that part of my meanwhile back on the hobby farm, but I'm just shaking my head. I'm very, very, very disappointed, let's just say. But hey, that's life, I guess. I try to keep my mind occupied on the hobby farm here, and it kind of let things go on the side, and what happens, happens, I guess. What else is new? I've got to check on the garlic today. That should be well beyond ready to be harvested, and I've got to store that in the cool basement. I'll tell you, some of these flower heads are really quite the challenge to cut. But a Future things, dreams, goals that we had for the hobby farm. We were going to put a new deck on the front of the home this year until the price of lumber skyrocketed, and that got put on the back burner. A new fence for the front of the paddock, put on hold. Price of lumber. Not to mention time, too. Time is, we've just been real busy, so. But you know what? There's always next spring. There's always over the winter. You just never know. I wanted to put a carport up. We got the free rafters, and we know that word free, you know, that we know where I stand when we say free. I stand in line for it. I got some free rafters, so all I need is some 4x4s. And probably when I do put the carport up, I'm going to put a metal roofing on it. It's a lot cheaper than buying the plywood. And I like it. Metal roofing is not a bad thing. I'm going to put some gutters on it and collect the rainwater inside of IBC totes to use for watering plants and for emergencies if we have to filter it and drink it and what have you. So that's the goal on that. And as I mentioned previously, I'm one for less government regulations, policies, and codes and all that. So the way of getting around of having to get a building permit is because you got to be 10 feet away from a structure and 10 feet from a property line. Well, where I want to put it is going to be within about 3 feet of the house, and it's going to be about under 10 feet from the property line for a grumpy old neighbor. So the way around it is I'm going to put some 4x4s in the ground on all four corners and maybe one in the middle between the corners. And I'm going to have them coming out of the ground probably about 3 feet. And then I'm going to take some other, and that'll be pressure treated. Then I'm going to take non-pressure treated because it's cheaper and it's not going to be in contact with the ground for moisture. Is I'm going to my 4x4s for the actual structure of the carport will actually be sitting right next to the 3-foot pressure treated coming out of the ground. I will have it, you know, sitting aside of it and off the ground probably about 4 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use metal anchors, and I'm going to anchor it to it. This way it's considered a portable. If I'm ever inspected and they come over and say, hey, it's a permanent structure. No, it's not. I can take those right off and get a forklift, come in and move the structure. It's not going to be very big. I believe if I measured it, it's going to be 12 feet by 14, 16. Enough to get a vehicle in there, maybe Joanne's truck in the wintertime. But that's the way you do it, folks. Same thing with the deck. When we put the deck on the front of the house, we're going to actually not going to be going into the ground with the 4x4s. We're going to use the deck support. They have cement ones, and I saw these new plastic ones now that you put right on the ground because the deck is only going to be under 3 feet off the ground. So it's not like, you know, we're going to have to worry about it collapsing with tons of people on it. It's going to be 3 feet off the ground. And it will not be attached to the ground, and it will not be attached to the house. Although the requirement does state that if you are, if it's over 200 square feet, you need a building permit. Well, I'm not stupid. I'm going to make it 194 feet, and then I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to make another one next to it, 190 feet. They'll be right next to each other, but they'll be so close together, there's not going to be any gap, and it's going to meet the requirements of not needing a permit because of its size. Always got to think of this. I used to be on the Zoning Board of Appeals 20 years ago, and I learned all the tricks in the trade. And one of the tricks of the trade is doesn't really affect the county farmers and the hobby farmers and the roadside stands because we're covered under the Michigan Cottage Act where we can sell our stuff, but you cannot put... Hello? Oh, nobody's there. I'm hearing things. Is signage. Being on the Zoning Board of Appeals, if you have a business in a city, a suburban area, and you want to put a sign out front, like you have a sign in your building. An example, my mom had a deli 30-something years ago, 35 years ago, on the New Hampshire border in Drake, Mass. And we had a sign in the building, and we put an A-frame sign in front of the building in our parking lot, and lo and behold, the building code inspector came by and said, you can't have that, it's against our sign ordinance, even though it was our property. So, and same thing happened out here in Michigan too. I knew a gentleman that had a small business, and they wouldn't let him put a sign out in front of his property. Well, the way around that, folks, is you take your vehicle and you make a little A-frame sign, and you can put on there Acme Sign Company, and just put it atop of your vehicle that's parked in your driveway or in your parking lot. And then this way, it's not considered a structure on your property. It's considered a mobile sign. All you got to do is, if you get questioned on it, is pull your vehicle up a couple of feet and say, see, it's a mobile sign. People in Grand Rapids will know what I'm talking about. I think it was Benton Ford, or it was a large auto dealer in Grand Rapids. They wanted to put a big sign out front, and they couldn't. So if you drive on 28th Street, where their showroom is located, you will often see a truck pulling a trailer with a huge, it's probably about 16 feet tall or 20 foot tall A-frame sign in the back of the trailer advertising their showroom and their address. They get away with it. It's considered portable. You do not need a permit. Do I advocate trying to save money and beat the system? Absolutely. Absolutely. Too many regulations in life these days. Yes, I can understand certain building codes. You don't want people building a structure where it's going to be a fire trap and a family of five is going to die and perish in it. I understand that. I get it. But I also get that the government likes to get their little hands on there on money, on taxes, and what have you. So do what you got to do. Do I endorse skirting the bylaws and the codes? Yep, I do. Very seldom you hear me say that because of my business aspect of life. A lot of people will call me for advice. They're going through a divorce. And what should they do? Should they hire an investigator? Should they tap their spouse's telephone? Should they follow them around? And the first thing I tell them is, I am not an attorney. I cannot give you advice. And I don't give them advice. I tell them, however, if it were me, this is what I would do. But I make that disclaimer that by no means am I an attorney. So when I give you this advice on skirting the codes and stuff, a little bit different. Yeah, absolutely. You can save a buck. I know people that are in political office that have the same mindset as me. Why, I know people that build a deck on the back of their home. Do they get a permit? No. They do it, or if it's a little deck on the front of their home, they'll do what's called weekend carpentry. Basically, build it on a Saturday and Sunday while the building inspectors are out of town on their boats, out on the lake, and build it. And if you get caught and they notice it, most municipalities, it's not a fine. They just make you pull the proper permit. So make sure if you do build it without a code, make sure at least it's up to code. But that brings you back to your taxes go up. And what's this have to do with meanwhile back on the hobby farm? I don't know. I told you I'd be talking your ears off today, making up for not being out here, I guess. But as you can see, I'm still cutting these flower heads. This is the first batch I cut over a month ago. And at that time, I cut the flower heads off separately because I thought as they dried, all of these little seeds would fall out. And I was wrong. They stayed intact. They only fall apart when you take scissors to them and you start cutting them. So that's why if you notice on these, they're still on there and they're dry. So it saved me a little bit of time of having to separately cut them. Not much is new on the hobby farm. Like I said, summer's winding down slowly but surely, but I'll tell you, it's hotter than the dickens out here right now. So you'd never know that. I got a feeling we're going to have a late summer. It's going to carry on for a while. Hasn't been an extremely hot summer. We haven't hit 100. We've only been in the 90s a handful of times, but don't let that fool you. That humidity was a killer. It was probably one of the most humidest summers we've ever had. And by that, I mean, usually we will get humidity 2 or 3 days, and then a cold front comes through, and it's low humidity for about a week, and then the humidity comes for 2 or 3 days. Well, this year what's happened is we've been getting humidity lasting for over a week to 8 days, and then the dry weather comes for only 3 or 4 days, and then it's humid again for 3 or 4 days. It's really bad. Over at my overnight gig, I mean, even though it's climate control and it's, they got air conditioning stuff in there, when you go to use the printers, all the papers are curled up in the printers. Even at home, our printer paper on our printer is all curled up. It's because of that humidity. Doors don't shut properly. It's just a sign that it's just been an expressive. So if you do not have a dehumidifier, which we have 2 of them in the basement, you better go down in your basement because you're going to have a mold problem big time this year. You need to get that moisture out of there. Open up some windows, get some fans going if you don't have a dehumidifier, because things will mold up quickly. And I learned that lesson a few years ago when my son's bedroom was downstairs. Hold on one second. Hello? Oh, nobody's there. I'm hearing things without my hearing aid. And my son's room was downstairs, and we did not have any dehumidifiers. He left his window shut, and when I lifted up underneath his bed, I couldn't believe the mold that had accumulated on that. Not good considering he has asthma. So definitely with all this humidity, and I know the whole country's been really hot this summer. Those wildfires out west, we're seeing the effects of that over here on our sunsets. Our sunsets have been extremely red, colorful. It does look good, but it's really not good in the long run. It's not good for the atmosphere. And that's why I tell people when they're worried about this climate control and all this stuff, you know, oh, you shouldn't burn outside. You're ruining the ozone layer. I got news for you, folks. One volcano, which I believe there's 3 active ones going on in the world right now. One volcano eruption has about as enough emission out of it as I believe they said 50 years of combustion and emission coming from automobiles around the world. So a little fire in your backyard is not going to save the planet. I hate to say that. I don't want to offend any tree huggers, but that's just a fact. The fact is, it's not going to make a difference. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't burn tires and stuff. Nobody wants to smell that stuff, but you can have the biggest of fires, and these fires out in the West. I mean, you know what that's doing to the ozone layer and what that's doing to the environment? It's bad, but you know what? It is what it is. Fire is a natural thing. Fires are good. Fire burns things and they regrow. Unfortunately, with the population growth out west, it's burning homes and killing people, and that's not a good thing. Right now, I'm cutting up the leaves to the Echinacea and some of the stems. And like I said, I don't have time right now to bag these into the tea bags, but you know what? I'm almost caught up, well, I will be in the next few days, on my note-taking for my PI work while I'm working on my overnight gig. So when I do get caught up on that and caught up on my YouTube, I do a lot of YouTube watching. Last night I watched 3 YouTube videos because I haven't been on in a week because I've been busy. And my favorite 43 YouTubers, yes, 43 of them. They're all, a lot of them are homesteads, farms, hobby farms, and a couple of them are preppers. I'm not a prepper fanatic by any means, but I do get ideas on if the poop hits the fan, like they say it may someday with an EMP or whatever. I want to be prepared. I mean, I know I'm prepared when it comes to medicines. You know, pharmacies aren't open, drugstores aren't open because there's no power. Guess what? We've got all the medicines we need right here. And you can't have a specialty and, have everything. If you did, you would be cluttered out of your home. But if the poop ever hits the fan, it's called the shit ever hits the fan, you want to be able to associate yourself with other people that are like-minded. Not fanatics that the world is caving in, but just being prepared and having a small group of friends in your area that you can rely on each other. If you've got a buddy that's carpentry inclined and knows a lot about carpentry, and you need some carpentry, you need some windows boarded up, you need to do something, and you're not carpentry inclined, have the resources, maybe you can rely on them. In return, they may need some natural medicine, for ailments that they have. They might need some canning goods because they're running low on their food. You may have a friend that's a doctor or a nurse. Hey, if somebody gets hurt, you know what? You can't get to the hospital. You can rely on that person. And again, I don't get into it too deeply because some people say, oh, you're just paranoid. No, I'm not paranoid. Preppers have been saying this is going to happen 50 years ago. And it may not happen for 50 years. It may not happen at all. Could happen tomorrow. You don't know. But I always believe in life is to be on the offense and not on the defense. Because when you're on the defense in life, on anything, it's to your disadvantage. It's too late. It's after the facts. Well, if you could change the facts or be prepared for the facts before they happen, you're going to be in a lot better shape than people that are not. Rain Country. Oh, she is awesome. Heidi's her name. I gotta get her to like my channel. I watch her faithfully. She does a lot of what I'm doing right now. She does a lot of canning of her herbs. And not only that, she does, you name it, she does it. She's a homestead gardener that says she very seldom does she go to a store. She might order some of her bulk ingredients, sugars and flours and what have you online. But she very seldom does she go to the store. But she comes up with some great ideas. So if you get a chance, Rain Country. Her name is Heidi. Go to her channel and, hey, tell her, meanwhile, back on the Hobby Farm Center. I'd love her to be a member of my channel. I think I'm up to 36. That's all I have. 30. Some of these people I follow on YouTube, they've got one that's almost got 1 million. Another guy is the Food Forest out of New Jersey. You'd never know this guy lived in the middle of the city. When he takes you in his backyard twice a week on his videos, it looks like he's in the middle of the country with all his flowers and his vegetables. I mean, it's just amazing. The fruit trees he has is just amazing. He doesn't sell any of it. He gives his stuff away to family, friends, and neighbors. The guy's a genius. He's got a dog named Tuck. So look up Food Forest out of New Jersey, and you'll be amazed at what this guy has. So yeah, I do a lot of YouTubing, and I'm way behind. I'm probably behind by about 30 videos. That's a long time. Some of those videos are half hour at a time. So I am way behind on catching up, and I get a lot of ideas from them. Everybody says, "Oh, you come up with a great idea." Now I steal these ideas. I call them stealing, but you know, people share each other's ideas and suggestions and tips, and I'm telling you, folks, we are so lucky in this day and age that if you need to know about something, you don't have to go dig through an encyclopedia and get limited information. You can actually just go online and Google or YouTube is awesome. I had to work on the car last week. Hey, listen, the reason why I'm doing this is because most of this is flower heads right here, and I don't want to have just flower heads and the seeds in one batch when I bag these into my bags. So what I'm going to do is divide this in half and then put the leaves and the rest of it. But what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. That's what happens when you get old. But hey, people ask me, you know, where do you find the time for this? Where do you find the time? You're always doing Facebook. Facebook I do almost once a day, a video. Or rambling on, it's an update. It's called Working on My Honey-Do List, Honey, D-E-W list, and things I have to do. And people say, oh, your wife makes you do this. It has nothing to do with a wife or a spouse or a girlfriend. It has to do with my own list that I make. Because somebody did question that to me a while back. They said, well, you make it sound like your wife is making you do. My wife doesn't make me do anything, and I don't make her do anything. We're a great team. We help each other out. Like I said, I've been working like a dog lately. She's been doing a lot of the feedings and stuff that I normally take care of and do because I just haven't been around. I've been busy. So, but I enjoy what I do. I don't watch TV. The only time I watched TV was about a week ago. We had some severe storms and tornadoes in the area, and I was at my overnight gig, so I turned the TV on to put the live radar on there because if we had immediate warnings in our area, I had to wake up my little kiddos and move them into a secured shelter area so they would be out of harm's way. But other than that, I honestly cannot tell you the last time I sat down. I can tell you probably about 1.5 years ago, used to be a show called, not Cops, Live PD. And then they pulled it because they called it politically incorrect and racist. I don't know how they did that. But I used to watch that on Friday nights during my overnight gig. It was live. I watched it live stream through my Fire Stick, which was free until they shut that down. There's no more Fire. There's no more Mobdro. I used to watch it on Mobdro. So, but anyway, that's the last time I really watch TV. I just don't engage in it. It's a waste of time. It really is. And I see people on Facebook, oh, did you watch who got thrown off the island or who's dancing with who on the stars? You know what? You're wasting time. You know, and don't get me wrong. If you're into that stuff, that's good. If that's your hobby, good. My hobby's right here. Herbs, flowers, gardening, goats, dogs. Hey, dogs. Folks, we have 6 dogs left. that we that are available. Can't discuss any further on it because we're not allowed to sell livestock on the internet. We will be put in YouTube jail. But the puppies are cute. I believe they're going to be 3 weeks old on Saturday, and I will tell you, my wife, we call her Mama Joanne. I think she's more of a mom to those puppies than the puppy's mom, and the puppy's mom's a great job. I'll tell you, mother of the year when it comes to this dog. She hears those dogs whimpering, she's over there, and they're attacking her like they haven't had milk in ages. But anyway, we got 6 of those puppies. They're golden labs, and they are the cutest little guys. I'm going to have an open house out here in a few weeks. We're going to put them out on the front lawn in a penned-in area with Mama, and we're going to have the goats out there, and we're going to have the chickens, and let people stop by and see the animals and go ooh ah ah and pat the puppies and enjoy themselves with them. Everybody loves to pat a new little puppy. I'm telling you, the cutest thing. Their eyes just opened up, I think, yesterday or the day before. So they are doing great. And Mama Kona is actually letting her daughter Molly, who is a year old, actually go inside the little pen area that has a door, and she lets her go in there, and it's funny, they lick the puppies' butts, and that's what they do when the puppies poop. That's their toilet paper. Kind of gross, I know. I thought the same thing. Joanne told me, nope, that's what they do. They the mom will lick their rear end and get rid of any poop that's in there, and well, Molly's letting her daughter, Kona's letting her daughter Molly do it. And I guess, I hear through the grapevine, we're keeping one of the puppies. Oh boy. I kept on saying no, no, no. But Mama Joanne spent that whole first day, 24 hours with the mama and puppies, helping deliver them, clean them. I think she had to break a sack or two. And you know what? She wanted one, and you know what? Why not? I'm not her keeper. I'm not her boss. Do I want another dog in the house? No, they're a lot of work, but she's a really good, if she didn't take care of the dogs, and I've been to people's homes where they have a dog or two, and you go there and you visit, and they have a dog bowl and there's no water in it. Folks, if you're going to be a dog owner, you better be a responsible one. Have water in that bowl 24/7. Same thing for any animals. Horses, goats, chickens. Our animals never, never, never go without having water to their availability 24/7. If you don't, you're an irresponsible animal owner, and this is directed at you. You don't deserve to have animals. Simple as that. So we're going to have a dog. But she said I can pick the dog out and I can name it. Well, I haven't picked one out yet. They're all cute. But I have a name. And the name, I'm not going to share it yet, was the runner-up when we had a contest on naming our new goat, which was Santana. And I'll tell you a little story about Santana, the person that chose his name. So the runner-up name, I will share that later on, is what I believe I'm going to name the puppy that we choose. And you know what, Joanne?